First up, though, delighted to welcome to the show former Conservative Government Advisor Claire Pearsall. Good morning to you.
Morning.
I mean, I'm trying to find some cheery news, Claire, but Tory leadership is literally the light news today.
It is that last sort of dead donkey item on the agenda, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. It really is. Look, let's start with Grenfell Tower. We're going to get the details in less than an hour. Sir Martin Moore-Bick has been carrying out this inquiry for 7 long years. I mean, it was all set up within days. Well, it was announced certainly by Theresa May, then Prime Minister, within days of this fire on the 14th of June in 2017. I mean, it was a horrific event. I'm sure most people can remember watching it on the news as it played out. Yeah. We were on air the next day talking about it, and I can still remember just being absolutely blown away as a fire safety expert that morning was explaining to us like how a building like that and building work on a building like that can be signed off. And I learned that morning, the day after that fire, I learned that morning that, astonishingly, turning up with a clipboard, employed by the council with no qualifications remotely resembling fire safety, buildings, nothing, I would have been entitled legally to sign off that building as safe, despite no qualifications. That's how bad our building regulations are. So when it comes to people who are to blame, I mean, government, local council, who all ended up resigning. We're going to be talking to a former local councillor in Kensington a little bit later. The builders, the architects, the people who decided to put the cladding on, the manufacturers who made the cladding, who basically, let's be honest, lied about whether the cladding was safe. They fiddled with their tests to show whether it was safe or not. Everybody and anybody, the corporations, individuals, failure by the fire service, not the individual men and women who bravely went to rescue people and put their own lives at risk. Astonishing heroism on that night. But the senior figures who went, oh, there's a stay put policy. Yeah, the fire, go to the top of the tower if not. The whole tower is on fire. A stay put policy at this point is not going to save lives. It's still 7 years on, makes me angry, does it not you?
Yeah, absolutely does. I mean, the images that we saw of that fire were horrendous. Nobody will forget that. The sight of a building that high being on fire with people still stuck inside. And I find it started on the 4th floor to tell people either to stay put or go higher up when there were no exits. Yeah. What did they expect was going to happen?
I genuinely think that people, judging by what people said at the time, if people thought, if you get to the top of the building, because the fire is started on the 4th floor in fridge freezer. Yeah. If the flames are lower, you go up. I think people thought they were going to be rescued by helicopter. Yeah, I think that is genuine. I think everyone has seen, films with Bruce Willis in, and they were going to be rescued by helicopter. In fact, you can't fly a helicopter over a billowing fire. There was such a catalogue of errors. What's so extraordinary is we're 7 years on. We understand, pretty much everybody is going to be blamed at this, but we're not even at the start of criminal procedures, criminal investigations, both for corporate manslaughter and, absolute negligence by individuals. We definitely need people. We need companies to be literally destroyed financially. I need people who run companies who failed to take action to know that buildings they were working on or supplying were safe. I think those people should be in prison. I think we need to have people go to prison. I think this is the only thing that focuses minds. There is so much evidence that has come out in this, and all the different people. I mean, every little company go, oh well, they said, well, they were doing it already. So there's a lot of blame gaming going on, and people just going, oh well, this is cheaper, we'll do this. But if you knowingly put, basically, I mean, one firefighter who worked on it said it wasn't like it was cladding. It was literally like the whole building had been doused in petrol. You couldn't put the flames out. If you do that, you're a killer. I mean, you should be in jail. You should be in jail. We can't hold people responsible for people dying in other sort of negligent cases. If someone driving a car and then say that someone who did that to a building with hundreds of people inside isn't a killer.
Well, that's right. And they knew that this cladding was flammable. They knew that their tests were shonky at best. I think we'll put it that way for the moment.
They fixed them. They were lies.
But also, why have the developers not taken any action? Because they don't have to. So we've had this lessons learned, we had the first bit of the inquiry, but there's no incentive for them to do anything about it.
Were you in government? I mean, so you were in government, you were a Home Office advisor, weren't you, at the time when this happened?
The first anniversary, I came the year after.
Was there any sense of sort of urgency? I mean, obviously with the Home Office, it wasn't particularly their department in that sense, but was there any sort of sense of urgency? Because we are still in a situation where, astonishingly, 340,000 people still live in 11,000 buildings which have that unsafe cladding. I mean, 7 years on, how is that even possible in a first world country?
Yeah, I mean, the Home Office were one of the departments that were involved with it, especially when you're talking with people and documents in particular, if you've lost all of your documents. But also with the policing aspect, it was a multi-government, it was one of these horrible occasions where everybody has a hand in it, which in government terms is really difficult. You want one person to take the lead. And that's where governments themselves fall down. Everybody tries to get involved, everybody puts the blame on someone else. But realistically, the local government...
At the end of the day,
they needed
it was
to
a local government run. It was run by it was a building council run by the local council, and they put the cladding on. And by the way, this wasn't about making it all nice for residents. It was about making this horrible eyesore tower block look a bit nicer for the rich residents of Kensington and Chelsea, the richest borough in the country. One of the things I find extraordinary is that the tower is still up, covered in scaffolding. You know, one of my big things about this today is I'm listening to a lot of reports and watching reports on other TV and radio. I always like to do a whole range in the morning. I'm focused on Mike, but genuinely I want to find out what everyone else is saying. It's all about emoting. Emoting. And I feel the same way about people emoting after a terror attack. It's obviously awful that 72 people died. It is awful that hundreds of other people had to go through the horror of losing their loved ones and trying to escape this fire. And people are living with it. They have children who have nightmares every night still. Loads of people are still, you know, not in permanent accommodation. By the way, an awful lot of those people who've refused accommodation they've been offered. Also, it turns out there are twice as many people entitled to accommodation as actually lived in the building. So there are some very big question marks about that. But it doesn't take away from the fact that these people went through something horrific that they should never have to go through. And no, I don't think it's racism, and no, I don't think it's because people hate poor people that this happened. There are plenty of rich people who own their own homes, who are white and middle class, who are living in buildings where they can't get the cladding off, and no one cares. So it's happening it's not just, it's not, that's not what it was. This is a level of incompetence and malfeasance by people. I mean, and you know, just not caring by people. But when people do the whole emoting thing, and we all sit and go, let's talk again about how awful it feels, I think we fail to get to the action. Same with terrorism. Let's light a candle, let's all sing, don't look back in anger, let's all unite as a community. Uniting doesn't save people's lives. Singing Kumbaya doesn't save people's lives. Lighting candles has never saved anyone's life ever. You know what does save lives? Putting people in prison. Prosecuting people, breaking their businesses, taking every penny they've ever earned in their life, taking their houses, making them and their kids homeless because they did something that they knew was wrong, that put people's lives in danger, killed people. Those people need to be in prison. They need their lives ruined. That is how you focus people's minds. Every single government official, local council official, building official, regulatory official, anyone involved in this who did not do something to make sure that people living in that building and every other building was safe has blood on their hands, and they should all be prosecuted. And it's only when we take action that we actually save lives, because we can't bring back the 72 people who died. We can't turn back time, but we can stop it from happening again. I mean, only last week in Dagenham in East London, we had a fire which had similarly dangerous cladding on go up in flames. Miraculously, no one died. But it is a complete matter of luck that no one died. I find it astonishing that people think emote, light a candle, kumbaya is going to save lives in the future. What we need is action.
Yeah, we do, and we need it to be quick. And unfortunately, we aren't going to see that. Yeah, we're 7 years on at the moment. It's going to be a decade, I think, before we start to get any kind of idea of somebody being prosecuted.
Well, they say 2027 at the earliest. No charges even for 18 months. Exactly. Love to hear your thoughts on that. Do get in touch. 0344 499 1000 is the number to call. But I also want to hear from you on these channel migrants. I mean, these stats are, they are just awful, aren't they? A pregnant woman, 6 children among the 12 migrants who died, mostly women and children who died. 10 of those who died were women and children. The death toll this year so far in the Channel is 37. That is 3 times the total last year, which was 12 for the whole year. Apparently they are now packing them into boats. It used to be sort of 20 in a boat meant for 8. Now they're getting bigger boats, but now they're packing more people in because they're trying to cut the supply of boats and engines for these boats. So they're now looking at 60 odd people in these boats. And of course, people get sort of, the weaker get pushed to the inside. We've seen this again and again.
Yeah.
It's often the women and the children. This boat, by all accounts, just the bottom of the boat just tore with the weight of all these people. They collapsed. No vessels nearby immediately, so people drowned. Barely anyone wearing a life jacket. Again, blows my mind. But these people are mostly from Eritrea, we're told, which is a horrific country.
Yeah.
Where young people are mostly fleeing conscription, you know, detention without any, you know, right of, you know, of appeal.
It's pretty horrendous.
It is a horrendous, horrible, authoritarian, totalitarian, militaristic government. However, are these people our problem, is the question.
Well, I mean, this brings into account the entire immigration debate, and you and I have spoken about it endlessly.
Oh my God, yes.
I mean, it never changes, and whatever the Labour government said they're going to do, clearly they haven't even started yet. But nothing
Haven't they smashed
is
the
working.
gangs yet?
Well, you'd like to think so,
I mean,
wouldn't you? All that
what is
bold
it? It's
talk.
4th of August? No, 4th of September. What
They
am I saying?
haven't even put in their chief commander into position yet. They haven't even employed somebody to do that job. Now, if you were thinking you were going to get into government, you would have put those wheels in motion at the very beginning. But you haven't done it. So it isn't working. So what are they going to do? Because I think the last thing anybody wants to see, whatever your views on migration, nobody wants to watch people dying.
No, exactly. I mean, exactly. This is the thing. The quicker we resolve this ongoing issue, the quicker we stop those deaths in the channel. Yeah, your thoughts on that? What do you want? What should be done? Give us a call 0344 499 1000. Also, this absolutely, I mean, horrific story of an 80-year-old man, Bhim Kohli. He's in Leicestershire. Again, on a, you know, works in, retired man, you know, grandfather, works in his allotment, friendly with neighbours, you know, just I mean, you know, just general nice guy. He's out walking his dog, 80 years old. He died. He died at the hands of some youth who attacked him, kicked to death, we understand, because he was alive when he was found by emergency workers. Extraordinarily, two children aged 14, a boy and a girl, were arrested yesterday. A boy and two girls aged 12 were also arrested yesterday on suspicion of murder. They've been questioned. The 12-year-olds have all been released with no further action to be taken, and the girl aged 14 released, but a 14-year-old boy has been bailed. Remains in custody and is still under questioning. Obviously, we don't want to prejudice any future trial. Any child that young could not be named anyway. But we do know that this 80-year-old man had previously called police about a gang of youths, basically sitting on the garage opposite his home, antisocial behaviour. Police, of course, this is going to surprise everybody, didn't do anything and didn't even respond to his call for 3 days. I mean, imagine everyone's surprised at that, Claire. Yeah. But you wonder whether this is someone who's, you know, standing up to kids behaving badly, and he's been, by all accounts, kicked on the floor, kicked in the spine. He was said kicked in the neck, and has died of his injuries. I mean, an 80-year-old man in a park, broad daylight, on a sunny Sunday evening in our country.
I mean, it's horrendous, and the very fact that police did nothing about the antisocial behaviour tells you everything. But also, where are the parents in all of this? And I think that we need to start looking at...
Maybe they're in Ibiza, like the mother of that 12-year-old who's supposed to be sentenced.
Maybe we need to start holding the parents responsible. Do you think anything is going to change if we just say, oh, well, you know, they've had a bad life or it's mental health problems? Actually, a lot of this is pretty down to bad parenting. Yeah. So why don't we hold them responsible? Can you imagine
a scenario when you were 12 years old? We don't know whether these kids are responsible. We've got to go through judicial processes if there haven't been any charges brought. But if it is a 14-year-old child, not even this one, a 14-year-old child who's been responsible for this, or any group of kids, it would appear we were told a group of kids were involved. The idea when you were 14 or 12 that an adult, especially an 80-year-old man, said to you, look, stop doing whatever you're doing. You might like go, yeah, you know, you do something, you might run away. Okay, you might not be respectful.
Yes.
Okay? Yeah. The idea that in any way that scenario would end with the 80-year-old man being kicked to death is beyond comprehension, right?
Yeah, because you know why? I would be scared of what my mother would have done to me.
Damn right.
not my father necessarily, but my mother, and she would have been disappointed and quiet. And the range
I don't think
of
I'd be alive now.
Probably not. Same here.
Seriously, I don't think I'd have been alive.
I think she would have put me in sort of a borstal myself. You know, she would have done that
Shipped you
on
off.
her own terms and put me in there. So I think I was more scared of them, but I may have been a bit disrespectful, a bit cheeky. Certainly wouldn't have ever considered kicking someone to death.
That's the thing. What is going on? Again, in broad daylight in a park, in broad daylight, that's the scary thing. Your thoughts on all of that as well. There's just so much to talk about today. Do get in touch, 0344 499 1000. So much more I want to talk about, including right to buy, and Sharina wants to rip it up, and Rachel Reeves saying that that basically, well, pensioners can afford winter fuel payment cuts. Well, yeah, a lot of them can. My parents can. A lot of them can't. What are we going to do about them? We'll get to all of that a little bit later in the show.